Stereophotography has been around as long as any other kind of photography. It's just that most people don't realise this. In fact, the idea of stereoscopy was invented before the camera. Charles Wheatstone in the 1830s realised that if you drew two slightly different pictures of the same scene with little parallax changes and viewed it so that one eye saw one picture and the other eye saw the other picture, that you would get a 3D effect, and it would give you the illusion of depth. So when photography was invented, it was immediately realised that this could be applied to photography, and you could make 3D pictures as opposed to just the normal flat pictures. This book is about the original Victorian 3D method, which is actually still the best. And if you get it right, the experience you get looking through a 3D viewer at a 3D picture is incredible and matchless. You really feel like you're there and you could walk into the scene.
The principle of stereoscopic photography is the same principle of stereoscopic vision, which is, we see in 3 dimensions because our eyes see an object from 2 different points of view, and our brain just works it out and makes it, converts it into a 3D object. And basically, any stereoscopic photography or stereoscopic filmmaking or anything that is 3D follows the same principle. My
first encounter with stereo, I think, was staring at wallpaper in my parents' house. Wallpaper is normally repetitive. You don't get so much wallpaper these days, do you? But usually there's a pattern which repeats, and if you're relaxed and your mind's wandering, sometimes your eyes will relax too, and a piece of the pattern over here and a piece of the pattern over there will engage your eyes separately, and so you end up looking at something which is completely bizarre. It looks like you're looking to infinity, or perhaps it looks like you're looking at something very close. So I used to be fascinated by this effect and what it did to your perception. And then, being a big Weetabix eater when I was a kid, that was my next experience, because they used to give away stereo cards in Weetabix packets and you could send away for the viewer. And I thought, first time I saw this, it was really magic. There would be a picture of an animal, 2 pictures of an animal which looked really flat and quite boring, put them in the viewer, and they sprang into depth and life. And it became a fascination all through my life. I was seeking out anything 3D, because to me it's always magic. And you can find some grubby old card in an auction house which looks like really you wouldn't even bother to keep it, but put it in the viewer, or free view it if you're lucky, and suddenly you can walk into another world. And that's what this book is about. I did have this idea in the back of my mind that I wanted to investigate this particular man, T.R. Williams. T.R. Williams was a man who I was beginning to glimpse as something very special. And I was looking in the books on photographic history at the time, and he was hardly ever mentioned. And yet I was beginning to see these wonderful pictures which seemed to make sense as a kind of journey of their own. And I wanted to get to the bottom of what they were. Nobody could tell me. Elena began to help me, and I think for the first time I had a sort of academic backup. I had someone I could bounce off who really understood, first of all, the medium, because Elena understands processes and archiving and the care of photographs, chemical-wise, but she also understands photographic history, and she knows where to go to find out something that she doesn't know. So we embarked on a collection. Exactly. And then we gradually focused down and down to the early Victorian stuff, and then we focused on this one man, T.R. Williams, which is what's led us to this book. The book is called A Village Lost and Found, and it's based on a series which was initially called Scenes in Our Village. But this is A Village Lost and Found. This is what it looks like. And we've actually done it as a slipcase, so that the book comes out of here, and beside the book is the other very necessary thing, which is the viewer to look at the 3D pictures with, this is what makes the magic happen. This is the folder for the viewer, and you can take your viewer out here. I only have a prototype viewer here because our viewers are being moulded at this minute. But what you can do is just fold them. They come flat, but in just a couple of seconds you can fold them up and they're ready for action. And it's a stereoscope which I'm proud to say I've invented. I didn't invent the stereoscope, but I invented this one. And it's the first of its kind, really, that folds completely flat into a book, but nevertheless focuses, and it has good quality optics. and a few other things which make viewing easy. And it looks very simple, but actually there's a lot of development time gone into this. So it focuses, you can hold it by the back here and focus with your thumbs, and so people with different kinds of vision will be able to see this thing without problems, we hope. The idea is that this sits on a picture in the book, and you then bring yourself to the viewer and a whole world opens up to you. We've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that the printing quality is good enough, because that's usually where books like this fall down. People print it with a normal printing process, and all you see in your viewer is a load of dots, which is very off-putting. So this is not quite photographic quality, but very close. There's really nothing distracting, so you get the complete experience as T.R. Williams' original audience would have done in the 1850s. In the beginning, we thought there must be a viewer out there which we can use for our book. We wanted something which would slot in the book and be readily available. And it really needs to be collapsible, because you don't want to have a bookseller with something that he can't put on a bookshelf. So I went back one night and looked at all the original Victorian stereo viewers that I could find, trying to find out what would be the way we could go if we made our own viewer. And it has certain requirements. It can't be a viewer with a stick out the side, because you can't put it on your page. It has to be something with an internal focusing device. And lots of requirements. It has to be easy. It's no use if people look at it and go, oh, it doesn't work for me, because it's gone. You know, you've lost your opportunity to get to people. It has to work, and people go, wow, it works. So we basically went through a lot of design to do this. I made a cardboard mock-up with some lenses that I found that were available. And there were two different focal lengths of lenses, and I kind of run out of time. I was going to make one long one with the long focal length lenses and one short one with the more powerful lenses. Ran out of time, and I thought, well, I might as well make it adaptable. So I cut some slits, and immediately the two halves slid together, and I had a focusing viewer, and it was all done in half an hour. And as soon as it was apparent that that worked, that was the model. We thought, we can get this made somehow, and this will be better than any viewer that you ever got with a book.
And we have tried and tested it with all the people we know.
We have tested
again
it
and again, because we wanted to make sure that that it works, and it does.
Photography was very young in 1850, and the process that T.R. Williams used to make these pictures was a wet plate process. You have to make your own emulsion on your plate, and you have to take the picture while it's still tacky and develop it. And you can't sort of store it in the camera. It has to be done on the spot. But he's doing this stuff in the field. He's taking this stuff out on a river trip or out to some barn somewhere. And the temperature's not controllable, the weather's not controllable, and he's still managing to make perfectly beautiful, technically expert pictures, but great works of art as well.
He was a pioneer in as much as he understood the medium really well, and he used it to the best advantage. You know, he was an innovator in terms of knowing what to do with this stereoscopic photography. And in fact, you know, he started producing artistic groups, which were, you know, still are incredibly beautiful, technically perfect. But not only that, he also produced probably one of the first photographs of press photographs. He photographed the launching of the HMS Marlborough in 1855, and he did so taking photographs from a boat, which is technically very, very difficult, considering that, you know, the photographic processes were incredibly complicated and cumbersome, and you know, not an easy thing to do. So he was a master. He was a master in terms of technical achievement and also artistic.
If we're talking about the pictures themselves, normally he's posed them very carefully. He's absolutely in control of what's there. He knows he's composing in 3 dimensions and not just 2 for a start. And he never takes just a picture of a scene. It will never be like a cabin and hills